Average Josh Podcast. Subscribe. So if you're watching this video right now, you probably already have your mind made up. You either probably think that I'm completely crazy, I'm completely ignorant, and I have no idea what I'm talking about, or that I'm actually right. And you've been a fan of these guys for a long time, and you think that they deserve much more credit than they've been getting. But whether you fall on one side of the fence or the other, the one thing that I can say for sure is that the conversation is much more nuanced than what most people are making it out to be. So I'm about to explain to you right now why I think Jake Paul and KSI and all of these other social media fighters are actually good for boxing. And to do that, we're gonna have to take a trip back with me way back, all the way to the year 2004, to when I, Average Josh, was in 4th grade. Now, in 4th grade, I didn't know anything about boxing. The only thing that I really knew about boxing was that Muhammad Ali was the greatest boxer alive, because I was born and raised in Kentucky, and Muhammad Ali was born and also raised in Kentucky, and that Mike Tyson was a destructive force, because everyone told me that, and I've seen clips of Mike Tyson in movies and things like that. So I just believed that Mike Tyson was this destructive force, and those things, they were basically true. But I wasn't really interested in a lot of the things that were going on around boxing, around the fight world. I was more so interested in things like this, like Power Rangers, other little TV shows and things like that. I really didn't become interested in boxing until the year 2004. And what changed in 2004? So there's a saying that goes, before you knew God, all you knew was your mother. Basically mean that when a baby is born, he doesn't have any perception of the world. He doesn't know about politics. He doesn't know about the economy. He doesn't really know about religion. He doesn't know anything about that. The very first thing that baby knows is his mother. And before I knew the greats, before I knew about Jack Johnson and the fight that he had with discrimination, before I knew about marvelous Marvin Hagler and his fight to actually get a shot at the title, before I knew about Muhammad Ali, before I knew about Larry Holmes, before I knew about Mike Tyson, before I knew about Lennox Lewis, before I knew about Riddick Bowe, before I knew about Rocky Marciano, before I knew about Berto Duran, Canelo Alvarez, Floyd Mayweather, any of the greats, before I knew of Manny Pacquiao, any of them, before I knew any of the greats, do you know who I knew? Do you know who the first person was to really open my eyes to the world of combat sports and get me interested enough to go down the rabbit hole of learning all about the history of boxing and the great boxers? Before I knew Sugar Ray Leonard, before I knew Errol Spence Jr., before I knew David Benavidez, before I knew Vasily Lomachenko, before I knew any of the guys past or present, do you know who I knew? Before I knew the greats, I knew Kimbo Slice. Yes, people, Kimbo Slice. And if you don't know who Kimbo Slice is, you need to do your research. Kimbo Slice was a man that back in 2002, he was the original. Before Logan Paul and Floyd Mayweather were tussling, before Jake Paul knocked out fighters in the UFC, before KSI beat up some tomato can fighter who was considered a professional fighter and who wore Mexican colors, disrespecting all the great Mexican champs, coming in there fighting like a tomato can, obviously knowing that he wasn't taking them seriously because he had a fight previously in the same day, so that he can walk around saying that he beat up a Mexican fighter. Before any of that happened, before Kim Kardashian was out there getting her silicone filled butt beat on national television, before any of that happened, I knew Kimbo Slice. He was the original social media warrior. And in 2004, when his videos were really getting popular, that was when the first, a year later, that was when the first episode of The Ultimate Fighter came out. And when the first episode of The Ultimate Fighter came out, Dana White was getting all of these emails, tons and tons of emails. And I bet a majority of those emails had to tag EDU because it was kids sending them from their school email addresses saying that you need to get Kimbo Slice on The Ultimate Fighter. And we had dumb things to say about we had dumb takes about Kimbo Slice, just like these children have dumb takes about KSI and Jake Paul. Can KSI or Jake Paul fight? I really believe that they can fight at the top level of boxing. If KSI or Jake Paul were in the ring with the prime Mike Tyson, I'm not saying that they'll win, but it would be it would be close because the fight could change within one punch. I really think that Jake Paul could beat the hell out of Floyd Mayweather. He really can. You know, all these ignorant takes. But when I think about it as a boxing fan, I look at these ignorant takes and they do get on my nerves. I'm like, bro, you have no idea what you're talking about. But there was at one point when me and my friends were literally having the similar conversations, talking about, I wonder if Rampage Jackson or a prime Mike Tyson, I wonder what happened if they got in the ring with Kimbo Slice. And now, you know, as an adult, I know what would happen. I'm not ignorant anymore. But at the time, I had those conversations because you don't know what you don't know until you know what you don't know. I was just too young. But what Kimbo did do is that he implanted a seed in me to start learning about combat sports, to start learning about Jack Johnson, Muhammad Ali, Jack Dempsey, Rocky, all of these great fighters in the UFC and in boxing. And it took me down a rabbit hole, which indoctrinated me somewhat into being the person that you see today, who has had almost a 2-decade-long love for the sport. And I will tell you straight up that I wouldn't have this channel that I'm talking on today if it wasn't for the fact that Kimbo Slice on a hot Saturday went into some guy's backyard and beat up some other huge guy for the entertainment of children all around the world. And that's what I'm saying. Jake Paul, he's not, and KSI, they're not Floyd Mayweather. They're not Sugar Ray Robinson. They're not Tommy Hearns. They're not Jack Dempsey. They're not Jack Johnson. They're not that. But what they can be for these children is they can be their Kimbo Slice, the one who plants the seed in them to get off of Fortnite, to stop watching LeBron James and Tom Brady, and to take a little bit of their time to go on YouTube, look up highlights, look up the history of boxing, and know more about boxing. More so than I've seen anyone else. And the same effect that Kimbo Slice had on the UFC, where we were begging that Kimbo Slice got into the Ultimate Fighter, and that we were really out there looking into all these UFC fighters and their personalities and learning more and more about them. And as you saw, it exploded. Now there's tons of UFC fighters who are popular now. There's tons of people buying the pay-per-views. Tons of them. But the UFC started in 1993. And the UFC made a lot of great moves in marketing. But one of the greatest moves they made in their marketing that really got a lot of their young fan base to get on board was to actually include people in their fights that young people actually wanted to see. Like Kimbo Slice. Like Brock Lesnar. And because of that, when you see people like Floyd Mayweather, you know, fighting Conor McGregor, and then, you know, you see people outside of the sport participating in it, that does plant the seed for those people to go and to learn more about the sport and become more invested into the sport, which means new fans. Because I was born in 1993, and regardless of how much we like it or not, The boxing fans for a long time, they were getting older. And there weren't new fans to replace them. Because every day someone else dies who was born in 1993, and every day there are less people alive who were born in 1993. So if those people are not replaced by people born in 1994, 1995, 2005, 2010, 2015, so on and so on, then what happens to your fan base is it literally starts to die out. You need these young people to be passionate enough about the sport to participate in the sport, to learn about the sport, to invest money into the sport, for the sport to stay alive. And to do that, just like a bat signal who's calling for a hero to come save it, who's calling for someone to bring these young people out. That's who people like Jake Paul, Logan Paul, KSI, Deji, and these other social media warriors are. That's who they are. But when it comes down to that, I'm not going to lie. That's not the reason that I personally think that they're good for the sport. And I'm not saying that everything they do they do in the sport is necessarily good. They do a lot of stupid stuff, and there's a lot of stupid takes that I have to ignore. But I'm going to tell you straight up the reason why I personally think these guys are good for the sport. And it's a selfish reason. And I'm going to tell you straight up why. B words. American heavyweight champion. Now hear me out. I in no way, shape, or form think that Jake Paul, Logan Paul, KSI, Deji, any of these guys are going to be the next American heavyweight champion. But if you take a look at the state of the American heavyweight boxing, and as they say, as goes the heavyweight division, so goes the sport of boxing, you find that the talent pool for these heavyweights has gotten lower over the past couple decades. It really has. There's been less and less young people participating in the sport. Even our best heavyweight champion, American heavyweight champion within the last 10 years, who has been undoubtedly Deontay the Bronze Bomber Wilder. Boxing was not his first choice. He was originally a football player. And if you look at the heavyweight division right now, especially the American heavyweight division, a lot of ex-basketball players. You'll see a lot of ex-football players. You don't see too many guys like Muhammad Ali, who started boxing at 11. You don't see too many guys like Alexander Usyk, who have over 300 amateur fights before they step in that ring. You see a lot of guys who are over 6 foot tall and 200 pounds in that ring, just winning off pure athleticism and mediocre boxing skill because they never had the time to develop it. And the reason why they didn't have the time to develop it is because boxing was not their first choice. Because the participation in boxing has been going down significantly. And because the participation in boxing has gone down significantly, so has the talent pool. And because the talent pool has gone down, the American heavyweight division has become very diluted. So that's why. Because somewhere right now, there's a child. There's a child in his PE class who has exceptional athleticism, who is exceptionally smart when it comes to his physical and sports IQ, who has natural stamina and who has the drive to really become one of these great professional athletes that we would love to look up to. And his gym teacher is going to walk up to him. And he's going to look at him. He's going to say, hey, you young man, come here. Come here. I need to talk to you for a second. I've been seeing you run around. I've been seeing you run these drills. I've been seeing you play your flag football. I've been seeing you play this pickup basketball. And I need to tell you right now that you need to play for our school sports teams. You need to get on the football team. You need to get on the basketball team. You need to grind your potential into becoming great at one of these sports because I'm seeing that you have great athletic potential. You need to run track. You need to do something. And when he goes up to that young man's going to be like, no, I'm not interested. And he's going to look at him and he's going to say something like, Don't you want to be LeBron James? Don't you want to be the next Tom Brady? Don't you want to be the next Tyson Gay, Usain Bolt? And he's going to look at him and say, respectfully, sir, no, absolutely not. And he's going to look at him with his little Fortnite backpack that has the practice gloves that he begged his mom to buy him from Amazon in them. And he's going to say, no, I don't want to be any of those guys. I want to be the next Jake Paul. I want to be the next KSI. And he's going to develop into that fighter, that heavyweight fighter that'll really bring back the American heavyweight division, just like it did in the old days. And when he takes his natural athleticism and he goes to the amateurs and he racks up hundreds of amateur fights and he goes to the Olympics, I pray for the man who has to step in that professional ring across from him. You should all be afraid. And that's all I gotta say about that, man. That's it. I just want an American heavyweight champion, man. Like like I said, I'm 29. I'm almost 30 years old. I'm an old man, and that's all I want. As someone who loves the American heavyweight division, as someone who loves it, man, who would love to see the next Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson really come out there. I know Deontay Wilder's been doing his thing, and I appreciate everything that Deontay Wilder has done. But Deontay Wilder is only one man. Not how it used to be. We used to have multiple big, strong American heavyweights out there just really entertaining the fans and captivating the world. It's just not how it used to be. Yeah, and that's all I'm hoping for. I'm just hoping that next guy comes along. And I would gladly put up with Jake Paul, KSI, Logan Paul, Deji, any of those guys if they inspire that person. Also, if Jared Big Baby Anderson ends up being that guy, then you can forget everything I said. You can go ahead and throw them guys out the window. But until then, I'm going to just hope for the best. I mean, for us, it's just like the American heavyweight division, bro. We are so tired, bro. We are so tired. I mean, we had Andy Ruiz, but he don't even claim America like that. He just says he's Mexican. We tired, man. We are so tired. The old man in me is tired. I was born by a river in a little tent. And just like that river, I've been running ever since. It's been a long time coming, but I know that Jared Anderson's gonna have to come. Oh, yes, he is. See, y'all got me over here depressed and stuff, singing Negro spirituals, reminiscing about the good old days. Jake Paul and KSI, they may be good for boxing. I don't know. Hopefully. But that's it. You know what, regardless of what anybody says or what flag Andy Ruiz be rapping, he's definitely American. So you got to think about it. This man beat a fit British champion in the middle of New York while being morbidly obese. If that's not the most American thing you've ever heard in your life, I don't know what is, bro. I don't know what is. That's all I got to say about that, bro. I'm out.